Shalom, everyone. I put up on YouTube this the Torah portion of this day with commentary about Moses and the burning bush. Pretty interesting. Now we're continuing in this speech of the Lubavitcher Rebbe that he gave in 1959, and he's explaining what's the message to us from the name of this week's Torah portion, which it consequently is the name of the whole book of this Torah. This book of Exodus. In English, it's called Names, Shmot. And what is the message that God is trying to tell us that this Torah portion is called Names? And so the Rebbe says a name is a very important thing, because what does a name do? It attaches the outside to the inside. When a person has a name, so you call by that name, and that arouses the person, draws the person's attention. Also, a person also can affect the world by means of his name. Like, for instance, a king puts his name on a document, as that document has the power of the king. So the name is something very external. But on the other hand, it comes out from the person. And in some ways, it comes out from the essence of the person. It says the Rebbe the same thing with the name of God and the name of the Jewish people. All the different names of God are how God creates or interacts with all of his creation. That's the different names of God. But the main thing of interaction that God has is with the world through the Jewish people. It says the Torah is the names of God. All the words of the Torah are the names of God. Better. The names of God is the whole Torah. There we go. Why? Because the purpose of the Torah is to link the will and the wisdom of the Creator with the creation, so that the creation can do what the Creator wants and can connect to the Creator. And so it is the Jewish people. The names of the Jewish people are how the Jewish people affect the world. And that's how they come out. But it also goes the other way around. Azoy V, just like Etzem and Hashem, the essence of the soul, which is Hecher from Orapkanidrit, coming down into the world. Let me make this bigger here. Let's see, can I do it? How do I do it like this? Huh? Here we go. Oh. And just like the essence of the soul, the Jewish soul, which is higher than coming into the world and even coming into the body, as Gita Starket, this gives a power to the ray of the soul in the body. Right? We said the ray of the soul in the body, that's like the name of the soul. And it gets power from the essence of the soul, which is the essence of the soul, which is above any name. Azoy. So it is. Azoy is as oich umgekehrt. It's the opposite also. Not only does God give power to the soul, but the soul, so to speak, gives power to God. The avoda from the Tayyara, the service, what we do with this ray of our soul, the name of the soul, which kumt lamata, which comes into the body, as it brings an elevation to the essence of the soul. Their tachlis, the whole purpose of the soul coming down into the world, is in order the aliyah, the elevation, was the neshama, which the soul had from their yerida, from coming down. Huh? Maybe if you want to take an example like sports, where you have sports, you have these people that they work out day and night, and they run and they jump, and they are willing to damage themselves and to hurt themselves, and go without eating and go without this, run for like an hour with top speed, 2 hours a day, do abnormal things. Why do they do it? Why? Victory. That they can have victory. If they just sit at home, as there won't be any victory. They won't have any troubles either. They won't lose. They won't have wasted time and wasted energy. But it's worth it for the sake of victory. The same thing as God puts the soul into the body, into the world, so that we can have victory over the forces of separateness, egotism, selfishness, death. Is it's known as Ati Aliyah, that this elevation which comes from the soul coming into the body, that it elevates the essence of the soul, is nit nor in Orsa Deshama. The elevation is not just this ray of the soul that comes into the body, nor oich, but also the essence of the soul itself, how it is above. Vertaheven also gets elevated. How you can elevate the essence, we'll find out. Doesn't make any sense. When comes at such a high level, was mitzad zichalim, which on it itself, on that avoid without the service, volt z to them nitke can't their greichen. It couldn't reach. Okay, maybe I can give another example here. Let's say a person is Napoleon. Napoleon. He used to be the ideal of the, how do you say, for copying of mentally insane people. They used to have, the classic picture of the mental institution, whatever it is. Everyone is walking on. They think they're Napoleon. Their hand is in their this. Everybody thinks he's great. Okay, let's take the real Napoleon. The real Napoleon, and he goes and he conquers and he makes and he goes and he gates and this and that, right? So what would have been his goal? Let's say he would have won. He would have gotten everything. So what would he have been? He would have been a king, and they would have died. He would have died. So what did he want? Right? What did he want after he died? What did he get? What? Nothing. What did he get? He's dead. He has nothing absolute. He didn't do anything eternal, anything that was really lasting. Oh, they would call his name on this. They would call his name on that other thing. But that's not him anymore. He's not there anymore. So after he dies, he doesn't get anything. No benefit, so to speak, whatsoever. So he wanted a greater France. So the France France would have been greater for another 50 years. Who knows how long? That also would have gone. What if he, instead of that, would have lived a life and decided he just wants truth and he wants to benefit the world? How many people, who knows how many people he killed with this war that he had and destroyed families, lives? Okay, but that wouldn't have been very interesting, would it have been? It wouldn't have been very exciting, but it would have been true. That would have really elevated his soul. His soul would have been attached to truth. Instead of it being attached to just victory, it's basically no difference than an animal, than two dogs fighting or two, whatever it is, what is goats fighting or something. Right? Victory, it's a natural thing to victory. But for a person to go against his nature and be true in a situation where everybody is false, and to be kind where everybody else is mean, and to be calm when everybody else is confused, and this is called the elevating of the soul. This is a true eternal thing. This means this is a thing which is not dying, undying. He attaches, it connects to his soul, which even after the person has died, that's his soul. His soul is connected to his soul. Soul never dies. There's unlimited elevations of this meaning and holiness and spirituality and godliness, which can be achieved by the soul. But the higher the soul gets, the less it feels ego. It doesn't feel it's doing something, that it is accomplishing something. It feels that it's connected to the truth. It loses that feeling of selfishness. That's what the ray of the soul is in the body. That which the ray of the soul, that's the shame, that's the name of the soul, can bring it brings about an elevation even in the essence of the soul, is as well as because there's shame, that name touches in the essence. Chach er is, because it is, or even though it's just a ray of the soul. Vimerzen, like we can see, as when miruft emetzer, when you call someone with his name, as Gitter sich demelt Aker, he turns mit sein ganz with the whole essence of his being to the person who calls him. But you just said the person's name, right? You just said, hey, Yehuda. And he turns around. It could be the 10 people turn around. But each one of them, they turn around with their whole essence, at least for that moment, until they see if really did you intend them. We see that the name, if you call somebody else's name, then Yehuda doesn't turn around. Why? Because somehow or other, the name is external and as, how do you call it, the temporary as it is, and what is it, just for convenience? There must be a better word than that, but it was just made for names, for convenience, the soul, the name, as it is, but it's attached somehow to the essence. Also, as Zoya's Vivus, it's also known as Aina from the Eitz is one of the ways to Roman a mensch to wake up a person from a starker hisalfus, if he's fainted, is was done wirkt nit, then it doesn't help the person any revealed powers of his soul, right? You can pinch him, you can do it, it doesn't wake up. Is to zug, and you just you can even whisper into his ear his name was a roofman al pi Torah, which is Torah name. Was durach them, which means it is direct men the etzem and nefesh, it wakes up the essence of the person. As erzal veder bleben und wirken and goof, that the soul should be in the body. I've seen this actually. I've seen this happen in people that are like very deeply asleep. I had a yeshiva for years, 30 years more. And there was something I had to go up sometimes, wake the boys up. And sometimes there would be boys that would just be out of sleep. I mean, you could put smelling salts under this, they would just sort of roll over. But you call their name and they would answer. Yuda, what? Wake up. I'm tired. Come on, get out of bed. Back to sleep, right? Yuda, the more of times you call his name, he'll wake up. So what do we see? We see that a name, we're talking about a regular name, wakes up a person. But says the Rebbe that part of the soul, which is in the body, is also called the name. And that aspect of the soul, which is in the body, the name, it can get all confused. It has all sorts of challenges, all sorts of difficulties. And when it overcomes those difficulties and those challenges, and especially if it's a Jewish soul and it does Torah and the commandments in the way that God wants, is this wakes up the essence of the soul. The essence of the soul gets an elevation. So to speak, the name of the soul does something the essence of the soul can't do. The essence of the soul can't be in any confusion or the opposition. The essence of the soul is that it's pure life, pure consciousness of the Creator. Was oich in them, which also is that in the tzaddikim, Domin Laboran, like we said, but the tzaddikim are similar to their creator, durach der avoda, by means of the service of the Jewish people in the world. Chach das tut men doch in olam hazeh, because he is doing, even though he's just doing something in this physical world. When it's lake nor ahara, where there is only just a little ray of godliness, you don't see godliness at all. Nevertheless, when we do something in this world with the ray of our soul, the name of the soul, in this terrible dark world, is verta nachas ruach. This actually gives pleasure to the Eibishter, to God alone. Like the rabbis say, nachas ruach lefanai, that it is a pleasure. God said, it's a pleasure in front of my reach nichoach. He says, when you made the sacrifice, it was a reach nichoach, it was a pleasure to me. The Eibishter zok, God says, as a nachas ruach for me, that I have a pleasure, my essence. When a Jew does what I want, do what I want. The avoid. Okay, what do we learn from this? What do we learn from this whole business? So that's what we're saying. That's the names of the Jews that went into Egypt, and by means of the Jews going into Egypt and serving God there, as that gave God a tremendous pleasure which he could not get otherwise. And because we're not talking about God as the Wizard of Oz or somebody sitting on a throne or a big angel, we're talking about the creator of the whole entire universe, true reality. There is no existence except for the creator bringing it into existence, and he brings it in constantly. Time is also a creation. So somehow or other, even though we're just creations and we're basically nothing, but because God is creating us and we do have free will, and when we decide with our free will that we are going to do what God wants and not what our urges or our nature or our friends or our surrounding that forces us to do or urges us to do, that gives God a big pleasure. And that's the whole secret of going into Egypt. The avoda lamata, the service below in goof in the body, darv sign has to be tzumavara in order to refine the goof, a person's body, the nefesh abamis in the animal soul, and the chelik and the part, that portion enveloped in the world from yeder, from every person. God puts us in the world in order to refine ourselves and the world. Now the body, which is the body and the animal soul in the world, the body are the natural automatic urges. You want to eat, you want to sleep. What's wrong with that? So there's nothing wrong with it, but the problem is there's nothing right with it. If you're doing it just for yourself, so you're missing the whole picture. You should be eating and sleeping and whatever for your creator. Eat only kosher food. Okay, you can eat kosher food, but eat it like a kosher animal. Don't eat like a pig. And when you eat, it shouldn't be just for your own pleasure. You can get pleasure from food. That's okay. Food can be tasty, but you shouldn't eat the food only because it's tasty. The tastiness is what is the reason for your eating. You should eat in order to be healthy. If people would really do that, then I don't think there'd be a problem with overeating. Maybe there would be also, because it's not a logical thing. The world should not conquer us. When we connect ourselves to the creator of the world, and everything that we do, say, think, and feel in the world, we check ourselves out first of all. What does God want me to do in this situation? Right? Somebody makes me mad. Should I get mad? Is that what God wants, or is that what I want? That's the battle. And when we are victorious, is this gives God pleasure. And not only that, get blood, nit blood is not only was medarf nit nispal, not only that you do not become affected from the world. Wären uns sich nicht rechnen mit alle Starken, that you become, what do you say, oblivious. Oblivious is the word, there's a better word. Oblivious und Verstellungen from Guf, the Nefesh Abamis, that you are, how do you say, there's a better word, what can I think of it? Okay, anyway, you become oblivious, you become not affected and separated from the feelings of your body and your animal soul, and you do with in Anyani and Neshama, you only learn Torah and you do commandments from learning Torah, doing the commandments and praying. Was in them seinen alle Yidden gleich. This is a Jewish thing. That's no big novelty. Right? Jewish people, somewhere down deep, they like to do the commandments. So that's very nice. If all the Jews do the commandments, it's amazing. But that's in the beginning, of course, it makes God very happy if you didn't do the commandments, you start to do the commandments. But afterwards, it's just Jewish nature to do the commandments. It's not anything unusual. Of course, Jews are also human people, and they're also natural. So a natural, normal human being doesn't do the commandments, but a natural Jew does do the commandments. So that, after a while, doesn't give God pleasure. What God gives God pleasure, nor the avoda darv zayin and a muvarer. A person has to refine an iber machen, and to what do you say, to transform them goof his body and his animal soul, in the world, and the part in the world that it should be Jewish. It was just like you put a mezuzah on your doors. Everybody knows it's a Jewish house. So also you can, the house should be kosher. Food should be kosher. And the books in the house should be kosher books. And you should use the books. And you should eat the food in a kosher way. And you should give charity. In the house on Shabbos, it should rest. You should light candle lights on Shabbos. On Shabbos. But even more, it should be a house where there's no anger and there's no yelling and there's no frustration and there's no scream. There's calmness and there's love. Those things you have to refine your own self. Zeizolan, they should be. Oh, here we go. fair and a clay, that the whole house should be a vessel to godliness. In other words, nothing in the house should scream out that this is what I like. I'm doing it because I like it. Right? I like it. You're doing it because anyone comes into your house, say, well, what's the reason you're Jewish people? Why do you have a chair like that? Why a sofa like that? Why a tree like that? Why a this like that? You say, oh, those things, it's permissible according to the Torah. You can take any type of a chair you want. I like this color. Oh, that's good. But the main question should be, you're a Jew, you're a representative of God. Why do you do this? What does God want from this? Why is there a mezuzah on every door? And then also the same thing with yourself. You have to watch out not just what goes into your mouth, but also what comes out and what goes out of your soul. Was in them, which in them is yeder zayin. Everyone is sort of in any different type of service of God. Val darf doch arbet mit zayin guf, because serving God by everybody is a little bit different. Zayin nefesh abam is their animal soul, and zayin chilik and velt and their portion in the world. So everybody is different. Everyone's personality is different. So therefore, when it comes to doing the Torah and the commandments, everybody's pretty much the same. But how you do it and the genuine, how do you say, intimate relationship that you have with God, that's different from everybody. When the Rebbe, and therefore, we stress the Torah stresses. What does the Torah stress? Oh. Therefore, the Torah stresses. Therefore, there the Torah stresses the besondere Namen, the different name from every Jew. Because every Jew has their own different personality. Not every Jew, every human being. But here we're talking about the Jewish people. They're the ones that are supposed to teach the whole world to link your personality with the creator of your personality, with your creator. And that you don't have to be any special genius, exactly the opposite. Simplicity is the way that it's done. The besondere name from the, I think that everybody can see. I don't know. I mean, I can see. Simple people, they're, for me anyway, everybody's different. They're the most pleasant people to speak to. Simple people. You get simple people, they're not black and they're not Spanish and they're not Jewish and they're not Gentile, and they're simple, normal people. Simple people. And they're in touch with life and they appreciate life and they appreciate everything that they have, and they have experience, they have good advice, and they're friendly, and they're happy to talk to you, and you're happy to talk to them. Simplicity. Like little children. When the Rebbe, so therefore everybody, even the biggest geniuses, have to adopt that attitude. And that's really what makes everybody different. That's what, then everybody has their own advice and their own experiences and their own lessons in life that they've learned. When the Rebbe, so therefore streichend unter the Torah stresses the different names of the Jews, Reuven, Shimon, because their shame, the name from each Jew, based off this indicates their tzur, the picture, their form, was wird in dem neshama of their soul, durch ihr verbund, with its connection with the body. That's what that's why when you call somebody's name, it arouses the soul, because the soul is connected to the body by the name. The neshama, the soul alone, hat nit kein Namen, doesn't have, the soul itself doesn't have a name. But Z is nit kein tzur, it hasn't got any form, so to speak, the soul. Und davka mitzad ihr verbund mit the guf, when it comes into the body, bakumt vi atzior und shem, then it becomes a different name and a different personality, and the face is different and his fingerprints are different. Und vi balten, because as ein guf, that one body is mechulak from its feiter, every Jew is a separate body, every human being is a separate body from everybody else. And so therefore every Jew, a besondere tzir, every Jew therefore is a different personality, a different way, a besondere Shem, a different name. Was is oich, Maram is this hints at the besondere oif and the different type of service of every single Jew. Undavka dorach these shemos. I mean, to tell you the truth, I don't really understand this because it says that there's souls in heaven, and even the angels are all different. Every angel is different from every other angel, but the souls for sure. It says when a person, you can recognize people in heaven. Now you can recognize Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, recognize people, and people have their own this. There's people get punished. The punishment is in such and such, right? Because of their personality, you can say he is being punished. Yeravim ben Nevat is being punished. Anyway, I have to ask somebody about that, but nevertheless, that's what he says. It says the soul itself does not have a personality. All the souls are basically the same. Only when the soul comes into the body, then does it have a name, and it is connected to, and it's separate from the others, and it's its own distinct personality and uniqueness. Undavka durach the shemos, by means of the names of the Jewish people, durach their avoda, by means of the service from every Jew separately, to refine his body, his animal soul, and his individual a part in the world, his house, his job, the people he meets, his experiences. What says, there, by means of this, you carry out the tachlis, the whole purpose of going into Egypt, namely the aliyah, the elevation which comes by means of this descent. So by means of being in Egypt, you elevate your soul, you elevate yourself, and you even give pleasure to the creator of the universe. That's the names of the Jewish people that came into Egypt. And we're going to go further and explain what that really means to us right now. Have a good day with Moshiach now. God willing, see you tomorrow at 8:15 in the morning.